Okay, hello and welcome to the AI Blockchain Summit in Malta. I'm Jane King, and with me is Josh Lawler, a partner of the law firm. Why don't you say it for me?
Sure,
I wrote it
it's
down
Zuber
quickly.
Lawler and Del Duca.
Great, in Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles,
Okay.
New York, Chicago, and out in Silicon Valley.
Awesome. Okay, all the key places where crypto is taking place. So give me kind of the current state of regulation in this industry in the U.S.
Oh, it's a mess. Of course, everybody knows this.
Yeah.
There's some legislation in Congress that I and a bunch of other people in the cryptocurrency are really pulling for, called the Token Taxonomy Act, which would fix things largely by turning us into the Australian system. So it would take everything other than financial products out of the realm of the SEC and put the commodity-backed tokens into the CFTC, it's Commodity Future Trading Commission.
Okay, yeah.
And all the utility-type tokens that are not true financial products would be the realm of the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, which basically translates to don't commit fraud, which is a great law. I would love that to be like the law we have to deal with.
Well, that's interesting because they have talked about this utility token, security token. I mean, that's been going on for a couple of years, and there's not been a resolution, right?
No, it's silliness. So this isn't exactly the state of current regulation. It's the state of what's been going on for 100 years. The U.S. doesn't actually regulate securities. The U.S. regulates transactions. And if it's a certain type of transaction, the thing in it is called a security. And that's led to so much confusion because people think of the tokens themselves as the securities. So then it's like, okay, avoid being an investment contract. Well, how do I do that? Well, your utility, you're basically software license. And then the SEC looked at it, and because the Main Street investor was being abused, and they were,
right.
The SEC said, well, we're not going to let that fly because we need to protect people. So they came up with this aspect of it being an investment contract in a very untraditional way. And that's how the quote utility token ended up being a security in the United States and not in many other places in the world.
Okay. Well, I remember watching a couple of years ago a hearing on the crypto industry, Bitcoin, everything. And I was like, wow, these lawmakers know nothing about this. And then I watched another one about a year and a half later, and I felt like they had done a little more homework. What do you think? I mean, being an expert in this area, I mean, do they have a long way to go still to understand?
They do, and the United States political process is not helping. I mean, at the end of the day, all the politicians need votes. So it's not only them getting educated, it's what do their constituents want? Do their constituents even understand it? And it's a painful process. And, we also, Facebook didn't do us any favors with Libra, which is basically an end around allowing the central banks to do economic regulation. I mean, it's got to be unbelievably scary for a government.
That Facebook Libra thing was interesting because I think it got attention because people were like, well, if Facebook sees something here, and these are a bunch of young, smart tech people, then maybe there is something here.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of legitimized crypto in a way, but complicated it in another way.
Yeah, it does. And the thing about it is, it's really the tail wagging the dog. There's so much more to distributed ledger technology than tokens, which might be securities. That's almost kind of an accident. What I think the government's now figuring out, and maybe Libra did do something of an introduction here, is that this particular technology is going to crack the world in half. I mean, it is amazingly flexible. It is amazingly different. It is a completely and totally new paradigm. And it's not just this cryptocurrency securities stuff, though. It's kind of just like the little harbinger of things to come.
I love that new paradigm because that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we could really see transformation with this. Okay, last question, Josh. Where do you think the U.S. is in terms of other countries? I mean, we're in Malta. This is obviously a very friendly crypto country. Switzerland is known as being very strong. Asia. What do you think of the U.S.? Are we getting left behind?
We're in deep trouble. I go to a lot of conferences, and if this conference was in the United States, it would be 1/4 the size. We are, as a country, pushing innovation out of the United States because everybody's afraid of the United States. And in some cases, it's justified, and in some cases, it's not. What I think is happening, and Microsoft just had their announcement a couple of days ago about kind of the bespoke tokens that they'll be putting on the Azure system, so it's permissioned, and of course, it's Microsoft's play to basically own a global intranet. The enterprise folks are diving in. IBM's using, Hyperledger, Fabric, and doing all kinds of things from an enterprise perspective. So, there's a scramble for the legacy providers and structures to kind of keep things. And they're smart enough this time around to know that they've got to adapt, but that adaptation may not be really the best thing for everyone. It's not the greater common good. It's kind of maintaining their ability to be profitable.
Well, and we've got, a Washington that is bitterly divided, and that's not helping. So,
No, not at all.
Okay. Thank you so much, Josh.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes. And thank you as well. We'll have more interviews coming up.